Hey guys, welcome to EU4. I kind of wanted to do a walkthrough of let's explain the game to humans because, why not? Eli wants me to, right Eli?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want?
Can I go to my party?
Buddy, your birthday's in 3 days, okay? I'm not in charge of when your birthday is. It's in 3 days whether I want it to be or not, so I can't make it faster.
Yes, you could.
No, I can't make your birthday today. It has to be in 3 days.
Dad, in 2 days you're going to have vacation.
Why?
Because Mommy said that I need my hand. Give them a card, and I did, and it's on December 3rd.
That's great, buddy. But 3 days is not December 3rd.
No, 2 days.
2 days is November 3rd. It's a whole different month.
Oh.
I like you. I'll talk to Mommy about it, okay? You're not in charge of when vacation is, just like Eli's not in charge of when his birthday is. Okay? Alright. Alright, sorry. EU4. So when you first get into the game, click the Ottomans because it's what the game recommends you to play, and then you'll be presented with this. And it's kind of overwhelming. You're like, what the heck? Why is all this happening to me? What did I ever do to you to make the game look so complicated and ridiculous? And you can kind of go through and read the things. You're like, well, this says that I have $222 in my treasury, and then I gain $7 from taxes, $6 from production, and $7 from trade every month. And I lose $8 to army maintenance and 1.22 to fleet maintenance for a total of plus $11 a month. So it looks like I'm gaining money every month. That seems like we're in a kind of healthy position. And this flame, that's scary looking. That says my country is at war with Albania. So where do you think Albania is? I mean, I know where it is because I've played this before, so I'm kind of cheating. But it doesn't say where it is, so if you click on it, maybe it'll take me to Albania. I'll click on this. Take me to Albania? No? Oh, now it says I can sue for peace with Albania. This red X means they're not going to accept peace from me, and it tells me why. It says the war just hasn't been going on long enough, man. Why would we want peace from you? You're nonsense. Up here, these are all the things I can ask Albania for in the peace agreements. Not very much. It seems like I could ask Albania to give me fleet basing rates. Why would I need fleet basing rates? I don't even know what that is. So anyway, that doesn't seem very interesting. Although the flames are kind of eye-catching. Let's look at the next number at the top. Manpower. It says we have 26,830 men that are willing to fight for us for a reasonable amount of money. And that every month we gain 233 more manpower, and every time someone dies, we lose manpower for that dead man, right? So I guess we're going to try to want to keep this number lower than the max, because if it's maxed out like it is right now, then all the manpower we would have gained each month, 233, will just go straight into the trash. So we're losing 233 manpower every month if that's maxed. Buddy, how about if I say whatever I want? No, I can't say whatever I want? Oh, thank you. Eli says I can say whatever I want. Alright, so you can see that if my max is 26830 and the amount I gain per year is 2683, then it'll take 10 years to go from 0 back up to my max. So if I deplete my pool of men, it'll take me 10 years of doing nothing in order to get them all back. So that's kind of sad. And we get a tick of manpower every month. So every month we get 233, which is 1/12 of 2,600. Right here is stability. Your nation's stability affects the unrest of your provinces and many other things. Improve your stability in order to something stability tab. So it doesn't actually tell you where the stability and expansion tab is, but I'll tell you because I'm super nice. Click this big flag and then bam, stability and expansion. So it says in order to increase stability you would click this. And your stability can range from -3 to +3, and if you mouse over it, it tells you what that does. So each level of stability is plus 1% trade power. Who knows what that does? Actually, we've seen the word trade before. It was up here in our treasury, right? We're getting more than a third of our money from trade, so trade power sounds kind of important. It also gives you spy defense. What's that? Well, I can tell you. Spy defense is what prevents other nations from fabricating claims against your nation or supporting rebel factions within your nation. So if you have a very low stability, other nations will have a very easy time convincing your own citizens to revolt against you. And then each level of positive stability will give you -1 national unrest. And as you probably guessed, national unrest is what causes people to revolt against you. So -1 unrest is good, and that's why it's in green. Plus 5% national tax modifier. So an individual province like this one has got a base tax of 5, which means we get about $5 from them. But we lose 20% of our money because they are the wrong religion, therefore, 20% intolerance. But then we get back plus $2 because it's actually my capital. So for a total of $5.6. So that's not very good. But then when we click on our economy tab, you'll notice that we actually, with zero stability, we just get exactly the amount of money that province is giving me. So for Edirne, we're getting 0.46. And over here it says, is Edirne giving me 0.46? Well, we have to open a calculator, man. Calculator. There you go. So 6 divided by 12 is 0.46. Those numbers, they go together. 0.46, 0.46, okay? So Edirne is giving me 0.46 in taxes. Now, if I up my stability, then it would give me 5% additional taxes. So the province would still give me the same amount, but in the economy tab, I would get a plus 5% right here in the taxation change thing. See how I've got a 10% production efficiency. So Edirne, actually Edirne doesn't give me very much production, so whatever. Point is, that's right here is where it will show up when you up your stability. So what else does stability give us? Stability also makes getting higher than +1 very expensive. So going from 0 to 1 costs 100, but going from 1 to 2 costs 150. So you basically never want to up your stability past +1 yourself, but you can still gain stability through special events. Like if you eat a sandwich that's like super tasty and your entire nation is like, oh my god, that sandwich, it was so tasty, we're never going to revolt again, then you'll gain 1 stability. And that'll be free, baby. So always try to go past +1 with free things. Missionary strength, obviously, missionary strength probably helps us to convert the religions of provinces. Oh my god. This little religion thing tells us how long it's going to take to convert this province. Currently, it'll take 72 months to convert this province because I have plus 2% missionary strength from base value, plus 0.3 from being pious, plus 1 because something to do with Islam, and plus 0.1 because we actually have a fort in that province, and then -1 because the province is Orthodox, and Orthodox people just like to stay Orthodox. They don't like to switch religions like no one's business. And provincial tax income, meaning that the richer a province is, the harder it is to convert their religion, right? So that's why this province is much harder to convert, is because it's got 2 provincial tax income, and this one only has 1 provincial tax income. This was a richer province. So Edirne, our capital, is so rich we can't even convert it ever, and it'll just never convert. But if we gain +1 stability, then we'll gain plus 0.5 missionary strength. And you can see our total positive missionary strength is only 1.3, so gaining 0.5 is a big deal. It's like 50% better. So stability is very important when you have, like we do, when you have provinces that are the wrong religion. You want to fix them. I'll fix your freaking religion. So the religion, each province has 1 religion and 1 culture, and that represents the majority religion. So if 33% of the people in a province are Orthodox, and then all the other people are small minorities of like 20% and 10% of various religions, then that province is considered Orthodox, even though it's not like 51% of the people are Orthodox or anything. It's just that Orthodox is the biggest group. So converting people, the religion of a province doesn't convert everyone in that province to your religion. It just converts enough so that that's now the majority religion, which is how we get away with the abstraction of just saying one province has 1 religion. The same goes for culture, right? So a lot of people say, well, how are you shifting culture? That sounds like genocide to me. That's how people traditionally shifted the culture of people. Or colonization, right? You take a bunch of people of your culture and you move them into this new province and you say have babies here, and then you give them all the money and you take the money away from other people, and hopefully over time the culture of that province sort of shifts. Well, I don't think we need genocide to explain it, because if the majority culture has 20% Turkish and then there's 10% of 9 other cultures, then you're still majority without even having to do very much. So it's not like we had to kill everyone. Didn't have to kill everyone, guy. Totally fine. What else does stability do? Goods produced nationally plus 1%. Now, plus 1% national goods production for stability. It gives us goods. Now, what the heck are goods, right? Down here, we got goods produced, 1.13. So we produce 1.13 grain in this province, and the value of grain is 2, or the price of grain is 2. So 2.27 is the amount of money we get for selling that much grain, right? Then up here we have something called trade power, which is affected by local autonomy and mercantilism, and being a coastal province. The trade power that we have in each of these provinces gets added together, and each province has a specific trade node. So this province is in the Ragusa node, and this one's in the Ragusa node, while this one's in Constantinople node, and this one's in Constantinople node, right? So if we click on the Constantinople node, we can see a cute little pie chart saying we took the trade power from Edirne and Selanik and Sofia, and we added them together, and we found that the Ottomans, us, have 58.9 total trade power in this node. Whereas Byzantium has 60 trade power in this node. Most of it is coming from, actually all of it is coming from the single city of Constantinople, which is the center of trade in the node. So we have 34% of the trade power in this node. They have 34% of the trade power in this node, and all these other people have a little bit of the trade power. So when one of my provinces, like Edirne or Selanik, creates 1.13 pounds of wheat and sells them for 2.27, 2.27 of that money goes straight into my pocket because I own the province. And then 2.27 more of that money gets dumped into the Constantinople trade node for the merchants to play with. And the merchants give the money to the nation that has the most trade power. Not all the money, but they split it amongst the nations with various amounts of trade power. So if we had 100% trade power in this node, then we would get 2.27 straight into our pockets, and then we get 2.27 more over at the node. And the further into the game you go, the more additional money your merchants can sell those goods for. So by the time you're at like the end of a long game, you might be generating $5 in a province right off the bat, and then sending $5 to the trade node, and the trade node might be shipping those goods downstream to another trade node and another trade node and another trade node. And by the time they get to that end trade node, if you have enough trade power in each node, you might be turning that $5 into $100. So you'll be making a lot more money from production being sold at trade nodes than you will be making from just production going straight into your pocket, or even from taxes. So long-term trade is your best investment, and trade comes from production. But short-term taxes are your best investment, and taxes come from taxes. So you notice how I said 2.27 goes straight into the trade node, and then 2.27 should go straight into my pocket. But in fact, 2.7 is not going straight into my pocket because our production efficiency is negative 23%, and our local autonomy is 33%. This right here, local autonomy, this is how much the Selanik node, how much money they're giving to the king, me, instead of giving to like the local warlord. So currently, 33% of the stuff that this province makes goes straight to the local warlord and never makes it to me, and that pisses me off. So I can click this button to change that. So instead of $4.56, I'll be getting $6.63 from this province, but at the cost of generating 10.5% unrest in the province, building towards the revolt of Orthodox zealots, whose goal will be to kill all of the non-Orthodox people, such as everyone. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, right? Generating unrest in exchange for money. And in order to put down revolts, it's going to cost us manpower, and it's cute. It's that trade-off. It's those sorts of trade-offs that really make me like this game. I like the way that works. Anyway, we're working our way across these menus. We got to the stability bar, and we kind of got stuck there because there's so many things that stability really affects. The stability of your realm gets added to everything. Everything. So, +1 interest per annum. Nobody's going to loan money to a realm that's not stable, because at any moment that realm could fracture into 4 realms, and then the ability of those 4 individual smaller realms to pay back the loan is not very high. So basically, if your realm is unstable, taking out a loan is more expensive. You have to pay more interest every year. Merchants present inland. Now, don't worry about that one. I know what it means. It's kind of complicated. Basically, merchant steering towards inland and merchants' presence inland. Merchants have a greater effect on inland trade nodes than they do on sea trade nodes, because the sea trade nodes are primarily controlled by how strong your navy is and how prestigious your nation is, whereas the inland trade node is much more based on the charisma and the influence of an individual merchant, because you can't just send a bunch of ships down there to back him up anytime he needs help. He needs to really get it all done himself. And if the realm that he's steering trade toward is not very stable, then people will be less likely to take him seriously as a merchant. And so that hampers his it hampers his ability to effectively do inland trade. So an inland trade node might be the Krakow node. There's no sea border with Krakow, right? And Wien is an inland trade node, and Saxony is an inland trade node. So in order to do successful trade in those inland nodes, you need to be a stable nation all the time, or people won't take you seriously. Whereas with sea nodes, no problem. We'll just, we'll do whatever the heck we want. It's totally fine. So we've made it past stability, right? Next, we've got ourselves some prestige. Some prestige. Prestige, yo. Prestige is extremely important, and it comes primarily from winning battles and not losing battles. Those two combinations, awesome. You sometimes get decisions like, for example, your rival is throwing a ball, and you have the option of burning it to the ground and killing all his guests for like 50 prestige to show everyone how much more powerful you are than your rival, or, sending him money and saying, have fun at the ball, and then you lose prestige because you're being nice to your rival because he's more powerful than you, and you have to pussyfoot around him and stuff. So prestige is really a measurement of how much other people feel like your nation is a badass, right? Winning wars, having lots of money, being very stable, having an heir ready to take over when your king dies, those kind of things, those are very prestigious things. Discovering a new technology, having a really cool painter in your society. And the benefits to having a high prestige are global trade power. Again, people are more likely to buy from a merchant from Constantinople, like this huge, ridiculously rich place, or Venice, than they are to buy from a merchant from Wien. Like, what the hell is Wien? No one knows about that nonsense. It's all crap. Or like a merchant from Crimea. Like, ooh, it's exotic, but do I trust them to not go under and fail to pay back their loans? Not really. Higher prestige gives your army better morale, and it gives your navy better morale. Now, in this game, the combat system is kind of complicated, and we're going to have to hit on that in a different video, because it'd take me a whole video just to explain the combat system. But suffice it to say that the morale of your armies and navies is what causes them not to just be completely decimated when they lose a battle, right? If you were going to win a battle, your morale isn't super important, because you're going to win the battle either way. But if you're going to lose a battle, and you have a very low morale, then you might lose all of your soldiers, because they'll just go home and become farmers because they're sick of your crap. Or if you have very high morale, you might lose the battle but be able to strategically retreat to a nice place and be able to fight again next time. Also, having very high morale soldiers will make the enemy's morale sap more quickly. So if I want to eliminate a small army with my large army, I have to have a high morale and they have to have a low morale. Because if they have a high morale and I have a low morale, then they're just going to be able to retreat successfully, even though I drastically outnumber them. So it's all about whether or not people are able to successfully retreat. Mercenary cost, minus 3% due to having an 8 prestige. Like, you can get super cheap mercenaries if your nation is very prestigious, because if you were, a soldier for hire, a mercenary who fights basically exclusively for money, you're going to want to work for a big, rich, powerful nation that never loses wars. Remember, prestige is winning battles and never losing battles, and that's who the mercenaries want to work for. So they'll work for you for a lot less money than they'll work for somebody who's less prestigious. I mean, think of working for England compared to working for Tyrone, a minor in Ireland, right? I would feel a lot safer being a mercenary for England than a mercenary for Tyrone. Prestige also affects your national spy defense. Honestly, don't pay attention to your national spy defense. It really doesn't matter. I know what it does, but it doesn't matter what it does. Yearly legitimacy, this is a really important one because it's very hard to gain legitimacy for a king. So the king of your country has 100% legitimacy. Everyone is like, he is the king of my country. He should be. It is good. His son, 100% legitimacy. Totally an awesome son. Now imagine his son is a crazy man, you know, and everybody knows his reputation for like eating dinner plates instead of the food on them or something. Then he might be considered less legitimate. People might be less willing to follow him, might be more willing to support a pretender against him, or more willing to like revolt against him, to say the things that he's doing are unfair, whether they are or not. So that's what legitimacy is, and we'll see that next. But having a high prestige like is kind of representative of having successfully run your country. And if your king is doing a great job running your country, it's hard to say that he's not legitimate, right? So the better your country is running, the more legitimacy you'll gain every year. Improve relations. Again, don't worry about that one. Just makes it quicker to make other countries like you. Better relations over time is one of the most important things in the game. Better relations over time plus the next one, aggressive expansion impact. Those two together determine how quickly you can expand your borders without people thinking that you're Hitler, right? So the more prestigious your nation is, the more people will allow you to expand without getting threatened by how quickly you're expanding. So that's really, really important and really cool. Now, again, we have legitimacy. I already kind of explained what legitimacy is, right? This is a measurement of how legitimate the monarch of is perceived to be by their subjects. Heirs with weak claims will have a low legitimacy once they inherit the throne. And this causes unrest, right? So the less legitimate you are, the more likely people are to revolt for whatever reason. It causes tolerance of the true faith, tolerance of heretics, and tolerance of heathens. Now, those three things are synonyms for unrest. Whenever you see the word tolerance, just think of it as unrest, because that's what it is, okay? So, I am a Sunni nation. In a Sunni province, I get -5 unrest because I have a 5 as my tolerance of the true faith. So right here, 5. And one of those comes from my legitimacy. So it's just -1 revolt risk for heretics, -1 revolt risk for heathens, -1 revolt risk for correct religion people. Correct is the correct religion. Anyway, diplomatic reputation +1, that's pretty crucial. It affects how likely your allies are to support you in war. So imagine you have a really strong ally and you're counting on him to defend you if you get attacked. And that means you can disband all your armies and just be like, I'm fine, I don't need to defend myself because my ally is like super going to defend me. But then your diplomatic reputation takes a huge hit and everyone thinks of you as like an evil person. And someone attacks you and your ally decides, you know, not only does he not have his own army, so I don't really want to fight on his side anyway, but he also has this really bad reputation and I just don't want to be seen as you know, going along with him. So you're on your own and then you'll be dead. So watch out for your diplomatic reputation. Another really important thing your diplomatic reputation does is it allows you to annex vassals, which means incorporate countries into your nation without having to conquer them yourself. So imagine I am this giant green blob, the Ottomans, and this little tiny Adena blob right here, or Ramazan or whatever. I say to them, hey, you're surrounded by people who hate you, and I'm willing to protect you from those people in exchange for 50% of your money and 50% of your troops. And you'll pay for your own troops out of your own pocket and then send those troops to defend me if I get attacked, and I'll send my troops to defend you if you get attacked. So it's like an alliance that can't be broken, where there's also an understanding that 50% of your income comes to me. Now, honestly, vassal income is never really a factor. Like, I might get, if I have 5 relatively powerful vassals, I might get like 10% of my income from vassal income. It's not really about the money, it's about the soldiers. Okay, because imagine you have 2 nations that are roughly the same size, Bosnia and Serbia, and they each have 5,000 troops. If Serbia conquers all of the terria of Bosnia, then much of this territory is going to be the wrong religion and wrong culture, or it'll just have unrest, or it'll have local autonomy from being conquered, where the local warlords use the excuse that you just took over this territory to set up their own kind of fiefdoms and sap some of the money out of your economy. So Serbia, having conquered the provinces of Bosnia, will now field, instead of 5 + 5 is 10 troops, they might field a total of 7 troops. So 3 of the troops that used to exist are just gone. And that's the big advantage of vassalization, right? If Serbia conquers Bosnia, and instead of taking all their provinces for himself, he just vassalizes them, then there will still be 10 troops, 5 for you and 5 for him. But these troops are under your control and funded from this guy's budget. So it's awesome. Vassalization is awesome. Totally vassalization for the win. That's a good explanation. Vassalization for the win, right? And the more legitimate your king is perceived to be, the more money you get from your vassals, but only to such a minor extent that you don't really need to worry about it. The point is, you get -4 revolt risk for having a legitimate king, and +4 revolt risk for having an illegitimate king, so that's a total of like 8 revolt risk. It's a huge deal. Make sure your king is legitimate if you can. If the game gives you an option to have an awesome king who's not at all legitimate, don't take it, because it's bait. It's trying to trick you into having a huge revolt risk and dying to revolts. So be careful about that. And the final thing I think that we're going to talk about now, I'll start a new video after this one because it's already been almost a half an hour, is power projection. Power projection is really cool. Basically, power projection gives you an extra leader so that you can have multiple generals, which is honestly not very useful. Most people only need one general at any given time. And it also gives you monarch points, and it gives you trade power. Now, I don't currently have any power projection, so it's hard to see what it would normally give me, but I think, remember, more than a third of my budget is coming from trade power, so the more trade power we can get, the better, and this gives you trade power. It also gives you morale for your armies and other interesting stuff. I guess we'll probably talk about power projection next time, because next time we're going to rival somebody, and that'll give us some power projection, and then we can mouse over it and see what we're getting. But yeah, in general, you can take power projection in wars, right? So your nation gets to have rivals. I'm currently at war, so I can't show you the rival system. So I guess next time we'll probably talk about soldiers and navies and probably like naked women, because who wouldn't want to talk about that? Anyway, be back in a moment and we'll discuss the rest of this EU4 stuff.